Art of Action figures, looking at the SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Daima adult Goku figure. This is the first Dragon Ball Daima figure that I've purchased to date. I'm just not really into the minifigures, but adult Goku with brand new engineering, I gotta get my hands on. Ever since Tamashii released this Superhero Ultimate Gohan figure back in 2022, people have been asking, when are they going to make an updated Goku figure on this body, which everybody calls the 3.0 body. 3 years later, Bandai has finally given us an answer, which is never, because this Goku is featuring so many new joints that I'm not alone in thinking this is now Generation 4.0. Before you start typing, there's no such thing as 3.0, 4.0, it's all made up, Bandai says it doesn't exist, no. It's just shorthand. All it means is this Goku has a lot of new engineering in it compared to the 3.0, and even compared to what a lot of people call like the 3.5 generation. Figures like this Cell Games Teen Gohan, the legendary Super Saiyan Goku. I really enjoyed Dragon Ball Daima, but the soft, bubbly art style just really isn't for me, and so I'm not super enthusiastic about like the head sculpt on this figure, but I am really excited to test out the new articulation setup, especially now that we know this seems to be the direction that Bandai's going in for Goku figures. I know a lot of people were worried about the knees being single hinges, the torso not having a cut through the middle of it, but I personally don't care what joints it has. All I care is that it moves, so if the range is comparable or better, I'm probably going to be pretty happy with it. On the front of the box, towards the bottom, we have all your brand logos: Bandai, Tamashii Nations, Dragon Ball Daima, holographic Toei Animation sticker, holographic Tamashii Nations quality sticker, warning: choking hazard, small parts, not for children under 3 years and intended for ages 15 and up. Designed by Tamashii Nations in Japan, Bandai Spirits, made in China. On the window, we have the SH Figuarts logo and the name of the figure, Son Goku Daima, printed in this really cool metallic purple font. Color scheme on all the Daima figures so far has been this like yellow to purple gradient, which does match up with the series logo, so that's cool. On the left-hand side, cutout for the window, and it's a little bit more exciting shapes than usual. Similar on top. Yellow to purple gradient on the bottom, photo of the figure. Yellow to purple gradient on the right side, more photos of the figure. And finally on the back, distribution info, barcode, UPC, all of your promotional images showing off range of motion, different accessories, and some boilerplate marketing text about SH Figuarts as a brand. As always, I have trusty hobby knife, sharp object, use an adult or an adult brain. I have already used it to slice the tape along the right-hand side, and I'm just going to feed the blade gently under the flap, push it towards the back of the box, and lift it out. Always be sure to close your hobby knife when you're done with it. Yellow accent color throughout the inside of the box, and we're back to the instructions printed on the inner flaps. Figure and accessories are not held in place by anything other than the lid, so always open the lid on a nice, flat, stable surface. Don't do it in a car. Don't do it on a bus. Great set of accessories for a Goku figure coming in at Bandai's base price. We get 4 total faces, 4 total pairs of hands, an alternate windy skirt piece, and an alternate windy hair piece compatible with all 4 faces. That's just about perfect. He comes with all the expressions that I would want to see. A happy face, neutral face, clenched teeth looking off to his left face, and a shouting looking straight ahead face. I actually really like that between the 2 attacking faces, he's looking in 2 different directions. The battle faces are a little bit redundant, so this is a really nice way to bring some variety. The hands are pretty standard. We have a pair of fists, a pair of clenched finger open palm hands, a pair of martial arts style pose hands, and a pair of splayed finger open palm hands. The only things you might be lacking for a Goku figure are some instant transmission hands and some flat karate chop hands. but you can probably borrow some from another Goku figure if you have one, as I believe the wrist joints are all compatible. I love that they're including action hair sculpts with the Dragon Ball figures now. This seems to be almost standard at this point. There's been so many Saiyans that have come with it, and I am loving that. I think that's really essential for these characters that are flying through the air. Also really nice to have a windy skirt piece so that you can not only have it look more natural in an action pose, but you can also get a little bit more range out of the hips. Let's go ahead and lift Goku out. I've already had a little bit of time with the figure, so we'll zoom in and give you my overall impressions. Here's Daima Goku with the SH Figuarts Cell Saga Teen Gohan and Superhero Ultimate Gohan. Power level 24,000 Vegeta and lowest born Saiyan Goku. Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Super Android 17 and Final Form Cooler. Fourth Form Frieza and Whis. For some other lines, we have the Mafex 185 Comic Spider-Man and the Jada Toys Street Fighter II Chun-Li, the Star Wars Black Series Luminara Unduli, and the SH Figuarts Anakin Skywalker from Ahsoka, but basically his Revenge of the Sith outfit, the Blockies Charmander and Blockies Charizard. Dragon Ball's art style has always been a moving target, and I think it's very cool that in recent years Tamashii has started to flex their depth and ability to capture the essence of a particular era, while the 2.0 engineering here leaves a lot to be desired. This particular 2.0 Goku sculpt is perfect for the loose, buff, muscle man style of early Dragon Ball Z, not because it's 2.0, but just the way that the body was sculpted around the 2.0 skeleton all those many years ago. 3.0 figures have just started to adopt the tight, sharp, built like a brick house art style of the Cell and Buu sagas, my personal favorite, which cannot be replaced. And while it's not the thing I already love, Daima's light, bubbly style is, if nothing else, fresh and suits the tone of the show that they wanted to make. Although someone called him Fortnite Goku, and I cannot unsee it now. But I guess if it brings Dragon Ball to a new generation of fans, that's a good thing. I'd rather we have more Dragon Ball than not have more Dragon Ball. Nobody wants to be the old fandom gatekeeper, or it's not the same. Everything's better in the past. That kind of thing. I find myself falling into it sometimes, but I think it's best to be a little bit lighter about it. On the subject of Daima, if you haven't watched it yet, I think every Dragon Ball fan owes it to themselves to give it a chance. The consistent, great animation and sound quality are definitely the stars of the show. There's also a lot of solid world building and some truly funny and hype moments sprinkled throughout. The full English dub is out now, so if you were waiting for that, there's no better time. Leave established lore at the door. Let the opening theme do its earworm thing. Expect some lulls and some plot elements to go the way of Toriyama forgot about Super Saiyan 2. And just enjoy the ride through Dragon Ball that, if nothing else, looks consistently great. Standing next to Nakatsuru's design for Daima Goku, you can see SHF got pretty close to the mark with the slim build, the muted pastel colors. But even though the design is definitely de-aged, I can't help but think the figure looks even younger than the design necessarily calls for. I think part of that is the way the shoulders sit when you push them all the way in. They tend to lie a little bit low, and I think you can use the shoulder articulation to bring them out and up a little bit. And it tends to make him look a little bit more like an adult. As it is, he kind of looks like adult Goku's body with child Goku's head to me, and I'm not a huge fan of it. Beyond that, though, it's a really well-crafted figure. It's simple looking, which is not necessarily a bad thing. The paint is minimal, which, again, for me in anime figures is not a bad thing. Especially after seeing the games begin Goku, where the one thing I'm not totally loving is the heavy red shading on the pants. It's hard to tell on his boots what's molded versus painted, but at least some of the red stripes going around and possibly the light gray on the bottom of his boots is painted on, and it's really clean. The ties are actually a soft plastic separate piece, and they have a little bit of flex to them, so it helps with the ankle articulation. The other place to receive just a little bit of paint is the collar area, which isn't a perfect match for skin tone and texture, but is pretty darn clean overall. There's just a little bit of fuzziness around the bottom there, and I noticed a little just at the back here. The orange and blue parts of his outfit are all molded separately, so perfect color separation, and they're molded in this nice soft plastic that seems to have like an inherent matte finish to it. So unlike the Cell Games Gohan, which has some weird shiny parts at the shoulders and the elbows, Goku has a pretty nice consistent matte finish throughout, and it gives him a very premium look. Now let's talk about the engineering of this figure and how it compares to 3.0, 2.0, and so on. If you're new to SHF, the blank .0 labels just refer to the internal body construction and engineering, not how many versions of a specific character they've made or a specific sculpt. And of course, not every figure fits cleanly. And officially, it's not like Bandai puts a version on every figure that they release. It's just a helpful way to get a quick idea what to expect with a particular figure from a line that has figures going back over 15 years. Depending on how you look at it, Daima Goku is either the start of 4.0 along with the new Cell Games Begin Goku that they just announced, or he's the very, very tail end of 3.0, keeping around 3.0 standards like the dumbbell neck replacing the ball hinge neck, the 360-degree shoulder design, which I just cannot say enough good things about. It not only lets you bring the shoulders forward and back a heck of a lot more than the 2.0, but you can also bring the shoulders up so that he can hold his hands above his head. It's a really great design that I like a whole lot. Removal of the 2.0 hip caps. If you lift up the bottom of his shirt here, you can see are not there. Just the ability to stand in a neutral pose without turning into an A-frame. The 2.0, you really can't bring the arms and legs any closer than this. But then they've also mixed in what you might call 3.5 features, like the soft gi, similar to the Cell Games Gohan, even Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo had some parts like this. There's that additional hinge on the inner shoulder socket, like Legendary Super Saiyan Goku, that lets that piece go kind of like this, up and down in here. And everybody who's been around Figuarts for a little while knows and does not love these 2.0 dumbbell joint ankles. 3.0 Gohan here has the swivel hinge ankles, much improved, but still lacking a little bit. And the really excellent ball hinge ankles that Legendary Super Saiyan Goku had seem to be borrowed from the Naruto line, which the more articulation we can borrow from the Naruto line for Dragon Ball, the better. Then capping it all off with this brand new single hinge knee design, which we'll talk more about as we get through articulation, as well as, like the Cell Games Goku, hinge at the top of the boot that lets that actually rock back and forth a little bit. Like I said, it's a more streamlined design, fewer cuts, which I think is a good direction for the line to go in. Some people said it looks like Dragon Stars, but man, I don't see it at all. The question is, how much mobility did they have to sacrifice to achieve it? Let's take a look. We already talked about dumbbell joint up into the head, ball joint from the neck down into the body. Looks up at least 30 degrees, maybe a little bit more. And I've brought the whole gang out here just to demonstrate this is something the Dragon Ball line has weirdly struggled with, getting their characters to look up, which is a damn shame for martial artists who need to be getting down in low crouching poses or flying poses. Would love to see a little bit more range looking up. Down has always been pretty good though, and this is no exception here. It gets a good amount of tilt to the side, and because it's ball joints, you can roll it around any way you like, and it works very fluidly, and I like that a lot. The shoulder joints are ball hinges going into another ball socket joint, hinge up a lot past 90 degrees. You probably don't want to try to swivel this kind of shoulder joint 360 degrees around. Instead, you can kind of go one direction or the other and cover the full range that way, just so you avoid like over rotating the sleeve and popping the arm out. As far as the butterfly joints, they're fantastic. I still see a lot of people like struggling to get the full range out of these butterfly joints. So once again, you kind of have to pull the shoulder out a little bit, and that allows you to bring it way past the chest to like cross his wristbands out in front of his body. Pretty much do the same thing in any direction, including going behind his back. The other nice thing this shoulder design lets you do is raise his hands over his head. Of course, his hair gets in the way, so I popped the head off to demonstrate. But yeah, this shoulder design, perfection. Don't change it. Now, I have two problems with this soft shirt material: resistance and bunching. Because this soft overlay is going over the joints, sometimes it just gets in the way. Bunching is, you try to like lean him forward a lot, it kind of starts to push together at the front like this and flares out, so you can see like the whole inner shoulder mechanism there. So you have to just kind of fiddle with it to get it to lay right. And it's a little bit of a hassle, so I kind of like that with the new Cell Games Goku, they've put the like lower torso cut just really low and let it rock over the waist instead of relying on a joint that's inside the soft shirt. He has the bicep swivel, of course, elbow range, 135 degrees, 90 plus another 45. Surprisingly, a little bit less than Gohan, despite the skinnier arms. Not sure what's up with that, but it's still good range. And then, of course, he has the standard Figuarts ball hinge wrists. The ball is compatible with your 2.0 figures, so if you wanted to give him an instant transmission hand or a karate chop hand, will work just fine. All right, the torso is where things get a little bit tricky and a little annoying with this figure, not gonna lie. There is a mid-torso cut under this shirt with a ball joint going into a hinge socket, and then there's another ball joint at the waist, but that inner joint I find is just a little bit hard to use beneath the shirt, but he does get a pretty good amount of ab crunch forward once you do. Let's compare that to Gohan here. Hold him at the waist and crunch him forward as much as I can. It is a little bit less range for Goku, but not as much less as you might expect. Tilting back is pretty similar. They're pretty much equal. Goku's belt moves to get out of the way a little bit, which is why it looks like it's off the like horizontal axis, but check the legs are still vertical here. Gohan doesn't get a lot of tilt side to side because the rib cage cut crashes into the belt. Goku's soft shirt can kind of work with the belt to get you a little bit of range, still not a ton. So really looking forward to that Cell Games Goku design. And just to like pop this off and show you what's going on in there, it's just that single ball joint. There's a little clip system. There's actually nothing in the way of the legs other than the belt and the skirt, so that's pretty cool. It is designed to be removed because he has the alternate windy skirt piece. Now, I'm going to swap to the windy skirt piece for the legs articulation, because one thing to note about the default piece is you really only want to use this in a relaxed pose. You can see the side here starts to split apart really easily when you move the legs. So to swap it, it's pretty straightforward. You just have to separate the belt. The belt has these two pegs coming out of it, and one is bigger than the other, so you know which one goes on which side of the skirt. push it in till you hear a little click, and we're good to go for the leg articulation. One more bit. He, of course, does swivel at the waist, and because it's ball joints, it rolls around pretty flexibly, but would love to see a little bit more range in there. As you saw, there's nothing at the top of the waist to get in the way, so he can really, as much as you are comfortable stretching this little corner of his skirt, you can get him to kick up really high, past 90 degrees. He doesn't kick backwards very much. He does have the butt plate, and it's kind of a hard plastic this time for some reason, but if you kick him to the side a little bit past and just line the other leg up, rotate him at the waist, you can get a pretty natural looking front to back split. One interesting thing that has never really been that important before, but I noticed with this figure, is the hip joint here, which acts like a swivel, is actually a ball joint. And so you get this kind of like pivot motion out of it. And the same thing is true of thigh swivel. That's also a ball joint. And it's not a huge deal, but it does let him cross like one foot in front of the other. And that's pretty cool, because sometimes I've been trying to do poses with Goku, you know, like that scene in the Frieza saga where surprises Frieza and flies down and kicks him like this. He can put his feet together to do that now, and I think that's really cool. So, just want to give a little bit of appreciation to the inverse hip range. Of course, there's a hinge, and with that, he gets pretty much 180 side split. All right, now the moment we've all been waiting for. What's going on with these knees? Everybody was freaking out from the promo images. Admittedly, Bandai did not do a very good job reassuring people that they would get very similar range to what has come before. Starting with the 2.0, first of all, we can agree this looks a heck of a lot better from the back, from the side, and from the front. If you're wearing long pants, I want you to try bending your knee and notice how the pants stretch over the top of your knee when you do that. And I think that is exactly what the designers are going for with this smooth knee hinge. Compare that to the 2.0, which just looks all sorts of wrong. And even the 3.0, which does look a lot better from the back, but that isn't exactly what a knee looks like when it's bent, you know? Now, personally, I think that slightly cleaner aesthetic is worth a slight decrease in range, which you can see Gohan here does get just a little bit more knee range, but it is worth pointing out the 2.0 Goku is pretty much exactly the same as this new one. How's the range? As you can see here, it's pretty much exactly the same as 2.0 Goku. However, it is a little bit less than the 3.0 Gohan if you compare the angle. If it still gets past 90 plus 45 degrees, I think that's really good. I mean, obviously, like close to 180 degrees, where like that would be awesome. So, is the slightly cleaner aesthetic, simpler design worth a little reduction in range? I think so. And while I get what they're going for with this smoothed out hinge design, there's a couple things I think they really should iron out. If they could just round out some of these harder edges that get exposed when you bend the knee, I think that would really help make it look a little less like a disc. This from the front looks really, really good, really clean. You almost don't even know there's a joint there. An interesting thing with this figure that I wasn't expecting is he actually has a hinge at the top of the boot. It's kind of similar to what they showed with the Cell Games Goku. A little limited, but it's cool that they're thinking about this. It does kind of give you a little bit more extension in the knee, or it really lets you kind of get him down in a action stance. And finally, the ankles are exceptional. They're similar to the legendary Super Saiyan Goku, just a ball hinge. Boot ties are just pegged on the sides, so they actually get a little bit of flex up and down. Gives him some really, really great ankle range. Going down. Going up could be better. The boot hinge does help a little bit. Toe hinge, of course. And really, really good ankle pivot. Low with his feet flat on the ground. So overall, the build quality is really solid. Nothing is loose, tight, troublesome in any way. The mobility is surprisingly good. I like the direction that they're going in with simplifying some of the engineering. I am all in favor of removing complexity if it adds little to no value. It just makes for a more stable, more predictable final product in the end. So Tamashii really needs to do a better job getting out in front of these kind of like backlash reactions that people have to seeing new engineering on figures. Because what people are going to remember from this figure is the smooth knees look like dragon stars and he doesn't have an ab crunch. Obviously, those things aren't as big of a problem as that makes them sound. And I would love to see Tamashii be a little bit more proactive about demonstrating why they're making these engineering trade-offs to get the fans on their side a little bit more. Because quite honestly, I just can't even look at the Instamashii page anymore. It pretty much like kills any enjoyment that I'm getting from collecting these figures. So if you're feeling similarly, I recommend taking a break from it or not looking at it altogether like I've been. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I'm just as hyped about the Games Begin Cell Games Goku as anybody. The announcement of that figure has really, really given some fresh life to the SHF line, which for me was getting a little stale there with all the 2.0 Goku and Vegeta reissues. Super excited for more Cell Saga figures. I love that they are not afraid to just totally replace Full Power Super Saiyan Goku, since we all know how people feel about that figure. I love getting a little bit of a preview here of some of the engineering changes. Overall, kind of similar to Daima, I'm pleasantly surprised by this figure. This has been the Art of Action Figures. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.